Okay, we are live. Dan Fernandes, welcome. I'm very excited to talk tonight about carbon footprints and the Trojan horse in a couple of bad pieces of stimulus bill.
We're going to talk about comparative effectiveness.
Yeah, comparative effectiveness analysis, which is a healthcare power grab, but first we'll talk about the energy initiatives that are in the. And this is quoted as, I think when it finally passed, it was more, but this particular article breaks down the stimulus bill as being a total figure of $787 billion. And I should properly introduce you. You are the regional representative of the Libertarian Party in the East San Gabriel Valley, Region 67. Okay, I'll be able to learn it by heart after a couple more years, Dan. I'm just a little dense, but that's okay. Okay, but just to set it up, the bill, I didn't know this until just now. 10% of that $800 billion is allocated toward green spending. And I've got this off one of the green websites here. This is after. Or I guess the day of that he was going to sign it, or near the day after it got through the Senate and the House, and of course he signed it. I think this is dated 17 February. 10% of the $800 billion is allocated to green spending. $32 billion for clean energy projects, $27 billion for energy efficiency initiatives, $19 billion for green transportation, to total $79 billion. And right at the top of the article, Joe Romm, the senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, one of my blogging nemesis, he loves it, so I know it's bad. Unbelievable. I did not know that much of that bill was allocated toward this green.
The question that I guess you would have to answer, Joey, is it really economic stimulus to spend the money on those kinds of things?
No, it can't be, because it's it's first of all it's spending on, if the government has to spend to create it, then it must not be in demand.
Yeah.
Right?
Demand by who? Demand by consumers, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, of course not. I mean, if something is demanded by consumers, they buy it with their own money. So when the government taxes away the money from the consumers, which are also the taxpayers, it's reducing the demand in the consumer-driven part of the economy, but it's increasing the demand in the command and control economy, which the government controls. So this is the command and control economy. And they like to brag about how many jobs they're going to create in that portion of the economy, but they neglect to mention that the consumer economy is going to shrink because of it.
Well, yeah, right on the face of it, you can't be creating jobs by spending all this tax money. It's going to be a net loss of jobs, because you're first pulling disposable income away from people who would otherwise be better suited to spend it.
Exactly. Didn't we go through this exercise during the Great Depression with the New Deal? Isn't that exactly what they tried to do in the New Deal, was have a lot of public works and spend a lot of money that they didn't have and go into debt, try to stimulate the economy? And how did it work then? No, well, they had a 10-year depression. So it doesn't work. It's based on flawed economic theory known as Keynesianism.
Yep.
And it's been tried, and it doesn't work. But the politicians all believe in it because it gives them the power and authority to feel that they're doing something, and to tell their constituencies that they're doing something about the economy. So it's pretty much wishful thinking, as I see it. Wishful thinking that wouldn't it be nice if the government could do something about fixing the economy? Let's believe in this theory that says that it can, and we'll proceed.
It's bad in so many ways. Not only do you pull the money from the productive people, then you're going to you're going to use it to hire people who would probably be better suited to use their skills somewhere else. In other words, there's not clean energy experts and green transportation experts just ready to go. They're going to have to retrain and convert from somewhere else. And
well, exactly. That's so true, and in the sense that they would be better served by filling the demand of consumers like you and me, we say unselfishly. But that's exactly right. But there are a lot of people and a lot of voters, a lot of taxpayers who believe that the government is wiser than consumers, and it knows better how to spend the taxpayers' money. And the better thing to do with the money is to spend it on these green energy projects. And so that's the real question is, does the government have the wisdom to spend the money better than consumers do? And I think you and I would say no, but a lot of people would disagree with that.
No, it just creates such disruptions if the demands, which are complex. Of course, some people are demanding, including me. I would like to have cleaner energy. I don't want to, if I had a choice, if I could buy a car that didn't exhaust something that fouled my lungs when I inhaled it, I would rather buy that car, all things being equal. So there is some demand for it.
Well, if you buy into the theory that carbon dioxide is ruining the planet and the government has to do something about it, then you probably are in favor of the Green Energy Initiative.
Right, but I'm just talking about if I put my face up to the exhaust pipe. I know that's not very good to breathe.
I've tried that.
I'm throwing aside the for a minute here. Let's put aside the actual carbon footprint thing because we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm just thinking from the standpoint of creating these. If the government has to create clean energy projects and energy efficiency initiatives and green transportation, the carbon emissions aside, what is the demand for those things? Mostly the people who have to smell certain machinery that puts off bad odors and energy machinery and takes up some space on the land that might otherwise be used. What I'm getting at is that if the government is not putting money toward inventing something new, and I know some of this is going to that, they're not really saying exactly what it is. Green projects is...
like they invented the airplane?
Yeah, they think they've invented...
Yeah. There's not a consumer demand for those things, but there is a political demand, and quite a strong political demand, because about 30% of the population thinks that free market capitalism is crashing the planet, and that government has to do something about that. So there's a big political demand for the green energies.
Yeah, and it's also it's such a sham in the job creation part too. They say the act will create or save 3.5 million jobs, and there's the sleight of hand because you can never prove you saved a job, but you can't prove that you didn't save a job.
Well, the reason that save is in there, of course, is because there's a lot of green energy spending that's been going on for some time now. The Department of Energy wastes billions of dollars a year, and it's been doing so since about 1978. So yeah, those jobs already exist, and that green energy initiative is perpetuating them.
That's terrible. Now let's switch over to the carbon footprint thing. This is a very annoying phrase that I think is a very important piece of their propaganda arsenal. It suggests that all of us are responsible, and we should measure each other's love of the planet by how small our carbon footprint is, but the assumption meaning if you put carbon into the air somehow, you're destroying your fellow man, animals, and maybe the whole planet.